I have some questions related to the situation of the financial sector in the United States.
Okay.
And the first one would be, in your view as financial sector leader in the United States in KPMG, which is your perception on the way the different regulators are functioning after the reform you had some years ago? Is there truly a level playing field between the different regulators in the different states?
That's a difficult question, and let me start by first making the note that clearly there's a lot of complexity coming at our clients today from the regulatory area. It's very complex, it's very challenging, it's changing very rapidly, and that means it's not only hard for our clients, but believe it or not, it's also difficult for the regulators. They're trying very hard to adopt a totally new set of rules and requirements. They're trying to interpret those requirements. They're trying to make sure their examination teams are well equipped to do it. You have teams across the country. As you know, the Fed in and of itself has 12 individual Fed banks with their own teams and their own protocols within those teams. So keeping everything consistent is certainly challenging. I do think things are improving in that sense, that I think there's a lot of open communication between the different regulators. I think they're working very hard to make sure they are coordinated and joined up. But nonetheless, there's still going to be a lot of challenges for our clients as they rapidly deal with the issues.
I was remembering a couple of weeks ago how the last number of our evolving banking regulation was about the idea of, the time of new regulation has probably passed, and this is the time for implementation, and I would add also for application. And how do you see the application of this new regulation in the different frameworks, and in particular, are you seeing important differences between what you are seeing here in Europe and what you see in US?
As you said, we in theory are done with the new implementation or the new passage of new rules, and now we're trying to implement and execute. But in the US, as you know, we're still passing new laws. There's a number of things that came out of the Dodd Frank Act that still haven't been enacted into law yet in the US. I know that the ECB in Europe is now being formed and taking roots. That will lead to some other changes. So I don't think the environment's stable yet. I think that there's still going to be a lot of change. And as we've also spoken about, the change not only comes from the new laws and regulations, but from the way those laws and regulations are being interpreted by regulators, the examination teams, our clients. And there's an increasing bar as the regulator starts to see best practices across the industry. They raise their expectations for a lot of our banks, and therefore it's expected they're going to continuously get better. I think that's the challenge that our clients face into, regardless of whether it's in Europe or in the US or in Asia.
And related to this new agenda on the supervision, one of the main issues, or at least one of the ones that is really challenging the entities, is the one that is related to the corporate governance. I think one of the lessons of the crisis was that the entities, or many of the entities, hasn't proper functioning in the corporate governance level, and I would say that this is one of the issues in which the supervisors are going to put much more attention in next years.
Right.
How do you see the landscape in the United States? How are the banks responding to this new view from the regulators?
So as you know, corporate governance has always been one of the foundational elements that the bank regulators have looked to. However, certainly out of the crisis, there's been a renewed focus on it, and I think there is a belief that had corporate governance been stronger, it would have helped either ameliorate or at least substantially reduce the impact of the crisis. And so I think the regulators are very much focused on it. I think that poses a number of challenges for organizations, and it's not one size fits all because it depends on the style and the nature of governance in the US today.